Hey, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Always good to be here at the table with you all. And today, this news broke a couple of days ago around this New York Times article. Maggie Haberman and what's his name, Jonathan Swan, two, veteran reporters, investigative journalists who have a new book coming out next week called Regime Change, right? And so we're understanding that they did this big article that was released in the New York Times. I think it was called The White House is in a Panic Over the Epstein Files, right? But it wasn't just about the Epstein Files. It was the idea that overall that there were these series, these series of meetings that took place in the Situation Room, right? Situation Room has a very defined uh, uh, mystique about it. Like when you go in there, it's all, quiet, no phones, no nothing. Like it's serious business. We got a huddle. It's a huddle, right? By the top brass. Frump's not in that huddle. Susie Wiles is, Marco Rubio is, JD Vance is, Todd Blanche is, other people, right? But we're understanding that there were quite some interesting conversations that got recorded. How did that happen? And so we're also understanding that these recordings have not been verified yet, but that there is a chance that they will be released if the DOJ, Blanche, or the White House decides to go after the New York Times about the release, not just of this article, but also it's Simon and Schuster, major publisher, that is publishing this book that's coming out next week, Regime Change. I ordered it, by the way. I probably, I'll check in with you guys on it later, just because, the reporter in me is like, what? I'm looking forward to that. But here's the situation. Now we're hearing some whisperings around, around social media, etc. That caught my spirit. Guys were like, hey, FFA, listen up. That these leaks, these audio recordings from these Situation Room meetings could have come from JD Vance's camp for entertainment purposes only, always, right? So here's what I'm thinking, and here's what we're going to look at today, you all. Post Trump scenario, we know it's coming down essentially to this jockeying between Rubio and Vance. There's been some talk about him just pulling out and saying, I'm not even going to worry about running in 2028. Clearly, Rubio is all for it. However, we're also understanding that in these conversations, in these Situation Room recordings, Vance was saying essentially in reference to the Epstein files, get it all out there, release everything, we'll deal with it as needed, right? If you need to get Ghislaine Maxwell to come in front of Congress and swear up and down that Trump is a saint, okay, let's do that. But let's do what we got to do to get this behind us, because it ain't going to go away. Well, clearly that didn't happen. We know last summer, Blanche goes, he has his little tete-a-tete with Ghislaine, and nothing really comes of it, she, other than her getting that sweet deal to go sit in some cushy place. But we're also hearing that Rubio on tape apparently came out and was calling Netanyahu's assessment of Iran, because those are two big issues that are coming out here. What's happened with the Epstein files and what happened with the lead up to the war with Iran, and how the U.S. got sucked in with Israel. And Rubio apparently called Netanyahu's, for entertainment purposes only, allegedly, supposedly, purportedly, BS. Said Netanyahu in terms of saying, if we go into Iran, we can effectuate regime change. Remember when that started? That was the deal, regime change. This is what we're going to do, right? We're going to free the people of Iran and regime change. And Rubio was like, that's pure BS. Netanyahu is talking out his rear, okay? Does that help JD Vance's prospects for 2028? Why? Because if Marco Rubio can be seen as anti-Israel, does that harm his chances? Is this a JD Vance coup? Essentially, is this a JD Vance coup? Because by saying what we're hearing, he was all for releasing the tapes. Isn't that what the manga base was always wanting? Uh-huh. All right, reading from the United States of Tarot deck today. Let's go in, you all. Spirit, please give us an understanding of, did J.D. Vance's people, himself or his people, did these leaks to the New York Times, that the New York Times got a hold of, was this engineered to boost J.D. Vance's prospects for 2028? Was him trying to boot Marco Rubio out of the way? We have the Wheel of Fortune comes at the bottom of the deck. All right, this is destiny, this is fate, this is a change of regime. Talk about, ironically, the name of this book from Haberman and Jonathan Swan is Regime Change. So this was J.D. Vance looking at the clock, looking at the cycles changing, looking at his prospects. The Ten of Cups. This was everybody in the room having something to say. The Fool. Oh, wait a minute. Regime change. You all, this is looking so far. I'm going to go into it a little bit more, but this is looking like this is somehow, some way, again, for entertainment purposes only, and as I'm seeing from Spirit, this is tied in some way to JD seeing, he knew even then, because this happened a while ago, and the moon, things coming to light, things being done in secret, but not necessarily all the way there, right? What happens in the Situation Room is supposed to stay in the Situation Room, and it didn't. It's been brought to light. Spirit, these leaks, these audio leaks of what happened in the Situation Room, was this from JD's people? The Seven of Wands, somebody wanting to do it, and Justice. And the Six of Cups. Please show me a male figure if in fact this was JD's doing or his people. Seven of Cups, Eight of Wands, and the Chariot. Now I asked to see a man. On that Seven of Cups card, there is a male figure speaking. Eight of Wands, speed, communication very often, but things going at a rapid fire pace. And the Chariot, to move through and move on and get over obstacles to JD's advancement. Because here's the deal that I'm hearing as I speak, from some borrowed time, right? We all know that. The next in line is JD. Marco's sitting right there. But next in line is JD. JD's seeing this as something that would solidify his chances. He gets in based on something, from exiting stage left before 2028. And he's then in line to not only complete complete this cycle, right, through 2028, complete the term, but then to advance to 2028. Five of Wands and the Hermit, because he saw the conflict. I don't think this is just him, though. I'm getting, as I'm speaking this out loud and pulling for you all, I get that this is the people who are around JD, who have tried to advance his career thus far, and who see the threat. The Hermit is detailed, analytical, Virgo, really digging in, rolling up your sleeves and getting the work done to advance, Five of Wands, to advance JD's chances against someone like Rubio. Now, Spirit, will this be harmful? These revelations that are coming out around this book and the recordings that were done in the Situation Room, will they be harmful to Marco Rubio, especially around Israel, the devil? Ties. The devil is bondage, right? Very often, bondage, temptation. What on the surface can appear to be very alluring, something very much desired. So this administration's ties to Israel and previous administrations, the whole U.S.-Israel alliance, as it were. The devil is looking at Rubio specifically, is he's bound to what will come out that is on the record, that he dogged Netanyahu, and perhaps rightfully so, right? Because we know it all was BS. It was never going to be about regime change. And the Two of Cups, Rubio, and the Two of Wands. This really does come down to the revelations that we're going to see, you all. This was something between trying to unseat the twos that we're seeing coming, JD and Marco. And this was about the two of them taking respect in their respective stances. Domestically, JD coming out and saying what he had to say about Epstein files, favorable to the MAGA base, release everything, get it out there, and which of course didn't happen. And remember, JD was largely sidelined and ticked off, Trump and his allies as a result of that. Meanwhile, Marco, who also has, made some really interesting moves, had apparently had some things to say about the reality of what was happening around the proposal to go to war with Iran, that he clearly doesn't want to have released. We have the Nine of Swords. Exactly. Marco knows he's in trouble. The way that this could play out, you all, is this is going to have JD kind of sitting pretty, because apparently his position was more in alignment with the MAGA base, the whole, Turning Point USA folks, that young, that he wanted to try and take over and be seen as the next thing, capitalizing on his supposed great relationship with Charlie Kirk, right? So JD's making some moves here. Now, second part. They can't take this line down. Mind you, nobody that was in these Situation Room meetings, none of the cabinet members and others, nobody's come out so far and said this is an outright lie, as far as I know. There's some arguments around the existence of these recordings, and there are a lot of people who are upset saying, look, New York Times, if you have the recordings, go ahead and release them. And instead of waiting for this book to come out, you're trying to get people to buy books. We get it. But here's the thing. If the administration is going to go after the New York Times or Simon and Schuster about this revelation, then you have discovery, right? Now you got a reason to release the tapes. Spirit, will we see? Will those tapes, those recordings of conversations in the Situation Room around the Epstein files and Iran, will those recordings come out? Will they be made public? We have the Ace of Swords. Woo! All right. And I'm not going to ignore it. I got the Ten of Pentacles behind it. That feels like the full Monty. Like there is a lot, because you got, come on, like we're not stupid, right? To have a newspaper like the Times, so it's already battled with Trump in the past, knows how litigious he is, right? Lawsuits galore. They had to have their ducks in a row before. And that's not to say everything is gospel, but they had to have enough. And Simon & Schuster, major publishing house, they had to have enough to be willing to go forward with this. I think we're going to see it or hear it. Ace of Swords, communication, right? coming out. Ten of Pentacles, all of it coming out. We're going to see it. Therefore, will Todd Blanche, are his hands tied in terms of trying to go after and prosecute the Times? His hands are tied. Temperance. He may try and mitigate any damage from this and try and plant seeds of doubt, certainly within the MAGA base, those who will believe him or believe the administration. But the Queen of Wands, that's Maggie Haberman in this instance. That's Maggie Haberman. She's known, she's respected. She's done many, many stories on Trump. Has a lot of access. And the Nine of Wands, it's going to be overwhelming for Todd Blanche to try and mount any kind of defense or try and dissuade people from believing or wanting more access to the tapes, to the recordings, or whatever this is that the New York Times has that happened in the Situation Room. Todd Blanche can't do anything, and there's the devil again. And this is an image of Steve Bannon of all people in The Devil. Yeah, Todd Blanche realizes that he's in so deep, and this is going to be sort of the beginning. No, I don't know if it's the beginning, because I already feel like he's on a decline. Spirit has said, the whole cabinet, the whole administration, like one by one, it's going to be a domino effect as things play out. But Blanche has put himself, and because remember, in the wake of these Situation Room meetings, that is when Blanche went to work and went and sat, got together with Ghislaine Maxwell, set all this nonsense up, and she wound up getting transferred. So he's also afraid that even as the head of the DOJ or trying to prosecute, he puts himself at risk because of the role that he himself played in it and continues to play in it. This is going to be a really, really interesting development. But all things full circle. Pay attention to how, as this story develops, as these revelations continue to come out, the impact that it has on JD versus the impact that it has on Marco Rubio. All right? Because Marco's going to have to talk about kissing some butt. If in fact Marco Rubio said these things around Netanyahu, that the whole AIPAC infiltration of Israeli intelligence in the Pentagon, which we're hearing more and more about, he is in trouble. He's got to make nice with that if he intends to advance in politics as they are in this moment. All right? Last thing I want to look at real quick. So we've all heard by now the absolutely despicable comment that UFC fighter, idiot Josh Hockett, whatever, made at the birthday bash thing, on the south lawn of the White House on Sunday. Came out and said, made that, I'm not even going to repeat it, but made that deplorable comment in reference to Michelle Obama. Now, the White House, of course, has not said anything to condemn it. This was at the White House on federal. This comment was made on federal property. We saw pictures have been released that when this fighter Josh he's the one that leaned over out of the ring and put this necklace on Trump. That when he made the comment, his initial knee-jerk response was to smile at it like it was entertaining, and then I think somebody punched him in the ribs and said straighten up, because they said he changed his expression afterward. But I'm also seeing a lot of people saying there's a lot of whispers that Michelle Obama may file a lawsuit against the UFC. Like, enough is enough. And this was intolerable. And if the administration does not come out with a formal apology, Dana White, head of the UFC, said something about, I don't like this kind of nonsense. But will Michelle Obama take action against the UFC or some sort of action as a result of this comment and no apologies made, no efforts to try and rectify it by this administration. I see the Eight of Pentacles. This feels very much like Michelle Obama's response is this is more of the same. Like, she's skilled, she's highly skilled, she's she knows these players and she knows the game. Nine of Cups, she's busy celebrating. We know that on Friday, Juneteenth, is the Obama Presidential Library that will officially open. There's been a lot of press around it. There's been beautiful portraits that have been released. I saw an incredible one yesterday of Michelle and Barack Obama. So I think she's in her joy, is what Spirit is saying. There's going to be so much. The Nine of Swords, I think that is anxiety among people to continue to address this, that the level of racism being condoned by this administration is stressing everybody out. Like, there are people who just, even in the GOP, who feel, even diehard MAGA folk, who feel like, okay, that was not necessary. And we have the Ace of Cups, Spirit coming to confirm that. And I love that's Maya Angelou on there. And that sort of feels like in the spirit of Maya Angelou over, who certainly experienced her share of racism and whatnot, sitting over Michelle Obama in a very dignified and calming manner. I don't think Michelle Obama is going to take this on, you all. Not that she shouldn't or couldn't, but I think her energy is the King of Pentacles. That's not Barack. That could be her brother, Craig Robinson, who they had that podcast together, and so he is Spirit. Is that Craig? Is that Craig Robinson, Michelle's brother, saying, "Sis, don't stress. Don't even sweat this. This is stupid." The Eight of Swords. This is stupid. Like, it's not even worth your mental space. And the devil, third time, the devil is busy. As I used to say in my Christian days, right? The devil is busy right now, y'all. Yeah. Michelle Obama is living another existence right now. There is so much positivity. There's so much triumph and triumphant energy around the Obamas right now with the opening of the Obama Presidential Library, especially on a momentous day like Juneteenth. So even having the distraction of these MAGA folks. Talk about ghetto. Did you all see the videos of all the fighting? They said the South Lawn had turned into a trailer park. There were all these videos of people fighting and rolling around on the grass at the after the but that's the crowd. That was the crowd that they wanted. That's who was there. And so it was just a mess. It was absolutely disgraceful. And so for somebody who's always talking about, the ghetto this and the ghetto that, yeah, the South Lawn was not looking too classy on Sunday. All right, you all, that's what I have for today. Keep your eyes on this developing story around this these tapes, this Situation Room leak, and see if you connect some dots about why, and who, and to what end would that have been done. Who does that benefit the most? All right? All right. Chin up. Always. Shoulders back. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. You know your values. You know your divinity. You know your connection to source. Period. Breathe from your heart. Stay in your heart. Sky above. And the earth beneath you. Always. All right? I'll talk to you a little bit later. Take care of yourselves. Bye.